trained to scam it.
Few people can claim to be a living legend, someone whose actions have led directly to a change in the course of history. Roy Hackett is one such man. 55 years ago, in 1963, inspired by Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement in America, Roy and three other black men, Paul Stephenson, Owen Henry and Guy Bailey, took on racism and inequality and altered the course of race relations in Britain.
What we wanted was to make the end of it. We were going to keep fighting.
Roy arrived in Bristol from Jamaica in the 1950s, like many of the Windrush generation, in search of a better life.
We see hard work, and the advert was made by Enoch Powell. How Britain is lovely and good for us and so forth and so forth. And he said, we wanted to help rebuild England, it was come, we're wide open for you.
But the reality Roy found was far from the dream he'd been sold. Discrimination was everywhere, in housing, in employment, in education, and racial attacks, particularly by gangs of teddy boys, were commonplace. Roy was appalled, and when a young Jamaican called Guy Bailey arrived at his door seeking his help, he decided to take a stand. Bailey had come to Bristol with a dream, to work as a driver with the Bristol Bus Company. But when Roy and fellow campaigner Paul Stephenson arranged an interview for him, they were told by bus company manager Ian Patey that black people were not welcome as staff on the buses.
The point is that whilst we can obtain white labour in this city, we intend to go on engaging white labour rather than coloured labour.
The way they were handling us is like we never exist, or we shouldn't exist. And I thought that was wrong.
Following Martin Luther King's campaign in America, Roy and Paul decided to ask the people of Bristol to boycott the city's buses. The plan was bold and not without risk. Bristol was a divided city, and while some had sympathy for their cause, others were opposed.
Well, I think the majority of them are just ignorant.
But there are a lot of white ignorant people too, aren't there?
Well, we can put up with them.
Personally, I couldn't see it working out.
There ain't going to be enough work for the whites, let alone the blacks.
Faced with such opposition, Roy and Paul recognised the need to find allies. Cricketing legend and High Commissioner for Trinidad and Tobago, Sir Leary Constantine was the most famous black man in Britain. Persuaded to speak out against the colour bar, a decision that cost him his job, the story gained national headlines.
We're not a people that go to kill people or to injure people, you know, and so forth. We don't burn their houses down or we don't knock their houses down. We just want to reason with them as a human being.
With the support of local MP Tony Benn, the campaign gathered momentum. Benn brought it to the attention of Labour leader Harold Wilson, who met with Roy and Paul and promised them that if Labour won office, he would change the law, for the first time in history making racial discrimination a crime. Finally, on the 28th of August 1963, the bus company surrendered. On the very same day the colour bar ended, across the Atlantic, the man who had inspired the boycott in the first place rose to make his historic speech.
I have a dream that my poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
A few months later, the first black crews started work on the buses. A year and a half later, having won the general election, Harold Wilson, true to his word, passed into law the first Race Relations Act.
Color have nothing to do with what's inside you. You're white, you're black, you're pink, you're blue. You think the way you were brought up.